afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Allie, Coram, and Ken Shreve here with a breakdown of the action in today's session, Thursday, September 19th, where we saw a bullish day across the board and a day two reaction snapback, what it seems, Ken, after the Fed slashed interest rates. So the bulls are back in full force today.
The bulls are back in town. Yeah, interesting 2 days of selling on Tuesday and Wednesday that we talked about on yesterday's video, but a really solid day of accumulation in the indexes today. We'll talk about that in just a second, but I want to take a look at Ferrari. Makes sense on a strong fast up session for the market. Take a look at RACE. Also, metals firm Carpenter Technology, CRS, and also want to take a look in Taiwan Semiconductor in the semiconductor space, TSM.
Sounds like a great plan, Ken. We will get to those stocks, but first let's take a look at the major indexes. The S&P 500 breaking out to new highs of 1.7% on the day. Leading the action was the Nasdaq, up 2.5%. And Ken, we closed above 18,000 at 18,013 and some change. The Dow, blue chips also participating, with the Dow up 1.3% on the day, closing above 42,000. That magnet there that over the last couple of weeks that we've been talking about. And the Russell 2000 small caps also participating, up almost 1.2% on the day. So Ken, is it all systems go here for the stock market?
Well, I mean, we were headed into this week. We were still on a nice uptrend. Again, we talked about some subtle signs of distribution in the indexes on Tuesday and Wednesday, but I think the market told us today that the uptrend still looks very good. Volume on the exchanges looks like we're going to be a little bit higher than yesterday. Pretty close call though. Would have liked to see a real strong heavy volume up session. Looks like we'll be slightly higher from yesterday, so that's a positive. But listen, with the S&P 500 into all-time high ground here, and the Nasdaq we talked about made a notable move above the 18,000 level, closed a little bit off its highs, but still a gap up in some decent volume here. So you're gonna hear that September can be a tricky month for the market, sometimes seasonally a difficult month. So we could still see some chop this month, but after two not so great sessions in a row, we did get a nice bullish session today, and that certainly makes the bulls feel good here.
Okay, well, we'll have to see if this can be a launching pad. Some of the other index charts that we've been looking at, the NYSE Composite Index up 1.2% on the day. This one's been leading, so continuing higher, getting to new highs after a test of the 50-day line not all too long ago. Ken, what are your thoughts on the participation in today's rally? Did it feel like we were seeing broad-based gains out there, or was it sort of back to the mega cap tech playbook? What were you seeing?
No, the gains definitely seem broad-based. Breadth was okay. It was much better earlier in the session. I saw breadth on the NYSE about maybe a little more than 3-to-1 positive, 3.5 to 1 positive. On the Nasdaq, it was close to 3-to-1 positive. So pretty decent breadth. But I'm glad you pulled up the NYSE composite. This is a very broad-based index, and much the S&P 500 obviously have 500 companies. The Dow, you've got 30. NYSE composite, literally thousands of companies in this index. So just a good example of the increasing breadth in the market. We did see some insurance stocks under pressure today, some utilities as well, sort of defensive areas of the market that lagged today, but pretty good participation. We were following the leaderboard very closely today. We increased a few positions, didn't add any new names, but just added to some names that were working. Didn't get overly aggressive today, but we're enjoying this uptrend and enjoying the kind of the expanding breadth as well.
Okay, well, we'll have to see if stocks can build on the momentum that we're seeing here. Next on the list, let's take a look at some sector ETFs that you wanted to weigh in on, Ken. Here's IGV. Of course, if the Nasdaq outperformed, that is a tech-heavy index. So here's a look at software stocks, definitely outperforming today, up almost 2.7%. This software ETF breaking out of a long, long sideways trading range.
Yeah, I think the guys on Swing Trader nibbled at this today. But yeah, what's interesting, I was talking to my colleague Dave about this, that the top weighted stock in IGV is Oracle, which obviously had a great earnings report recently and is still holding near highs. It's been a real monster. But the next two stocks in this fund are Salesforce and Adobe, maybe two of the weakest performing tech stocks here. So to see IGV, move like it did today, even though it's got a couple of laggard tech stocks up there in the top five holdings, still has a lot of other great, tech stocks here. And I think this is, money was definitely flowing into tech today, and IGV, is in a nice setup along with a lot of other ETFs and stocks in this market.
Right. And I think potentially it could be very telling if we do see a strong finish to the week here for this sector, because it's been out of favor for quite a while, Ken, after leading all of 2023 essentially, but peaking in February 2024 or so. So if we can get the software group really roaring again, that would seemingly bode well for the bull market.
Yeah, there's not nearly as much leadership, as you know, as there was in the enterprise software group, but you still have a lot of enterprise names. We mentioned Oracle and a few others. ServiceNow, another name that we have in the leaderboard model portfolio. This has been just kind of, marching to the beat of its own drummer here, not paying attention to some selling in the Magnificent Seven stocks. So yeah, some large cap, software leadership looking pretty good. Again, the leadership not what it once was, but still several stocks in the group here, showing strength.
Okay, and then let's also check in on chips, because they've weakened over the last couple of months, peaking in July. Are we going to see a chip comeback? Well, SMH, if you thought the software sector action was good today, SMH today up 4.3%. So
Yeah, now it did now gapped SMH gapped above the 50-day moving average here. So trying to break out of a downtrend. You can see there was a little selling late in the session here that brought SMH down a little bit, but two stocks are responsible for the big weighting here. You've got Taiwan Semiconductor, and you also have NVIDIA. I think they're about 35% of the fund here. NVIDIA, not really a leader anymore. It's just kind of in a sideways consolidation. You can see it tried to move, tried to break out of a little downtrend here. It still looks to me like it's stuck on a downtrend, closed near its lows. But TSM is another stock in that fund that we can,
yeah,
I wanted to talk about today. But
exactly.
yeah.
We'll take a closer look at that one soon. But first, let's go to Ferrari, racing ahead today, up 3.5%. If you go to the weekly chart, Ken, looking like a nice bounce off of the 10-week line this week, just a couple weeks after a powerful breakout. So in terms of the kind of action that we expect to see from leading stocks, it seems like this one's doing all the right things right now.
Yeah, it sure is, and that's why we increased the position today. Didn't quite come down and touch its 50-day moving average, but you can see Ferrari in recent quarters here has got a good track record of earnings and revenue growth. Pretty decent composite rating, but this was a nice gap above its short-term moving averages for Ferrari. And as you pointed out on the weekly chart, this is when a stock breaks out of a kind of a sideways consolidation like Ferrari did and rallies, makes some nice progress from the breakout. A normal pullback here down to the red line, that 10-week moving average, and finding support. So if you bought at the breakout like we did on leaderboard, perfect opportunity to add to the position and put money into what is working. So we thought it was a good buy signal for Ferrari today.
Okay. Elsewhere, let's check in on CRS in the steel group. So breaking out today after teasing a breakout in Wednesday's session, but now getting above 150. The gain today, 5.3% in above average volume on this breakout.
Yeah, and this is again just an example of how the leadership in this market is kind of spreading out into different areas. So this is a specialty metals company, cobalt, nickel. Titanium, all different kinds of metals here, but just a classic, not the greatest looking base here. Kind of some volatile action when the base first started. Yeah, gap down. Gap down below some moving averages. Then it rallied back, came down, kind of found support at its 50-day moving average, and then started to rally. Now, the action today, I mean, this was a classic breakout, maybe a little setup day yesterday. Volume really rolled into CRS today, and you can see still near the top of the 5% buy zone. So just a good example of a stock that's outperforming, showing great relative strength in the market. So a lot of stuff moving outside of technology, which is good.
Yes, it is. And we're seeing an RS line blue dot on the weekly chart underscoring this stock's outperformance versus the S&P 500. You get a blue dot when a stock is hitting a new high on that RS line, when it's breaking out, or if it's forming the right side of the base. So to see that on a breakout just underscores we're seeing that market outperformance there. So we like to see
Yeah, definitely, just another sign of power. When a stock breaks out, we're always looking at the relative strength line because you see some stocks setting up in certain type of markets. They try to move, yet the relative strength line is lagging behind the stock. So anytime a stock is breaking out into new high ground, you want to see that relative strength line shooting higher. It just tells you the stock's been outperforming the S&P 500, and it has a lot of leadership characteristics. So Carpenter definitely showed that today.
Okay, let's also circle back to TSM you wanted to check in on. Let's take a closer look at the daily chart here. Seeing a breakout from a cup with handle base. Today's gain 5.3%. Volume not above average, but the highest upside volume in quite a while here, Ken. And to your point earlier, this one's looking better than NVIDIA. So, at least from a technical perspective, perhaps seeing a shift in leadership.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of selling. I saw that the chip equipment group was one of the day's best performers here, but there's really been a lot of selling among chip equipment stocks. Taiwan Semiconductor is not in the chip equipment group. It's a chip maker, and there was a really good shakeout here at the bottom of the base when it broke through that 150 level, found support at the 200-day moving average, rallied up to the 175.45 level. Came back down. So the breakout today looked pretty good. It's not a typical pattern. It was a pretty sharp, pullback on the left side, but 31% from high to low, not too bad. Most importantly, like I said, a good support day right at the bottom of the base. You can see sellers came in, lifted the stock off the 200-day line, and then just a little consolidation lately. And you can see a good point about the volume, below average, but the highest in several weeks, and quite an acceleration from what we saw yesterday. So this is a classic breakout, maybe from a non-classic structure, but 175.45 looks like a great pivot here, and TSM, clearly still in a buy zone here.
Okay, Ken. Well, one more day left in the trading week. So, what do you think is important for investors to focus on with a lot of the changes that we've seen? A lot of volatility does seem like it is time to be leaning bullish, remaining open minded, and managing risk, of course. But seems like this is a lean bullish type market at the moment.
No question about it. Again, we talked about some kind of shaky sessions on Tuesday and Wednesday, but a lot of that was offset by a nice strong higher volume gain today. So have to remember that options expire tomorrow. Sometimes options expiration Friday is can result in some volatility. Sometimes it doesn't. So we'll have to see. But it is the third Friday of the month, so we're going to watch options expire, and we'll see if that brings volatility or not. But I think. Today was just a good reminder that this uptrend is still very much intact. And as breadth continues to expand here, I think there are reasons to be optimistic. But again, wouldn't be surprised to see some chop in September. We know the market's been volatile, so we're not going to go way over on
Right.
the giddy
Yeah.
level here, but we want to respect strength when we see it, and we saw it today, and we'll see how we end the week. And we have the Fed behind us, and we've got third quarter earnings season. I mean, that the companies are going to close their books at the end of September. Hard to believe, but and then earnings reports flowing in, early October. So things look pretty good here, but we don't want to get too bullish, and just kind of examine your holdings, and hopefully you've got some nice winners, and just riding this uptrend here.
All right. Well, thank you, Ken. And thanks everyone for tuning in. That is it from us for today. But we will see you in the morning, investors.com/IBD Live, 10 minutes before the opening bell, and for the first 90 plus minutes of trade with our team going over market conditions, stocks to watch, portfolio management tools, and so much more. So we'll see you there in the morning. And then we'll also see you right back here tomorrow after the close to wrap up the week.